Hi everyone and welcome to session 8. Today we're going to speak about the difference between the present perfect and the past simple. So there are some common uses of the present perfect that probably everybody knows. For example, here as you can see, an action that started in the past and continues until now. Right? This is the typical use of the present perfect. So like we said before, an action that starts here in the past and it continues all the way until now, the present. All right. For example, I've lived in Spain since 2007. All right. So in 2007, I came to Spain, and for all this time until now, 2020, I'm still living in Spain. All right. For the most part, when we use the present perfect in this sense, we can pretty much assume that the action is going to continue into the future, although that's not necessarily true all the time. So this is the kind of typical standard form that we use the present perfect. However, there are other ways to use the present perfect as well that are sometimes a little more confusing. All right, imagine that you're looking for a movie to watch tonight, and your partner says, "Hey, have you seen this movie?" "Yeah, I've already seen it." Okay, so when we say I've already seen it, we're actually referring to the past. All right, so it's a moment in the past that's finished, right? So one of the uses that we also have for the present perfect is this, all right? A moment in the past, okay, an unspecific moment in the past, for example here, but we don't really know when, right? And this is important because in a moment we're going to contrast the present perfect with the past simple, and this is a big difference, all right? So if we're kind of time unspecific, we don't specify when we saw the movie, right? We can use the present perfect to describe this situation, all right? So the example was this: have you ever seen this movie? Yes, I've already seen it. All right, I saw it last year. So now if we get more time specific and we say, for example, last year, then we can use the past simple. All right, so this is one of the big differences between the present perfect and the past simple, and where a lot of people tend to use it incorrectly. All right, so let's go up here for a minute, okay, the past simple, and this is what I just explained, okay? We can use it for an action that's in the past and finished, all right, but that's time specific. All right, generally when we speak in the past simple, we use specific time expressions, or we reference the time that it happened to some degree. All right, for example, I saw that movie yesterday, or I lived in Spain for 5 years. I went to China 10 days ago. All right, so here we have yesterday, 10 days ago, all right, for 5 years. All right, but I want to take a special look at this example here. All right, so now comparing this concept of the past simple with the concepts of the present perfect that we've already looked at. Okay, it's true we have one more here that we'll come back to in just a moment. But what's the difference if I say I lived in Spain for 5 years, or I have lived in Spain for 5 years? Right? The difference is that I lived in Spain for 5 years, since we're using the past simple, right? We inherently understand that that period of time is over, it's finished. Right now, you no longer live in Spain. Right? However, if we say this in the present perfect and we say I have lived in Spain for 5 years, then the difference is that you continue living in Spain now. Right? So in the past simple, you no longer live in Spain, but in the present perfect, you continue living in Spain now. And that's because of this concept, like we saw here, where it's something that started in the past, right? We're speaking about 4 or 5 years. So 5 years ago, you arrived to Spain. And this has been the 5-year period here up until today. Right? So today, you're still currently living in Spain. So this is the difference between this example in the past simple and the present perfect. So one of the biggest things, like I said before, to contrast these two is this. we can speak about the past in an unspecific moment using the present perfect, or if we want to be time specific, we can use the past simple. All right, so now, what does it mean to be time specific? Right, there's certain expressions that we use in order to be time specific. All right, and some of those expressions, like you can see in these examples, yesterday, this morning, last week. All right, as you can see here, past simple. Right, ago. Anytime we use ago, 1 month ago, 1 year ago, 2 days ago. Anytime we use ago, it's a clue that we need to use the past simple. Last year, last month, last week, okay, yesterday, this morning, right? So a lot of these expressions that refer to time in the past would be used with the past simple. All right, when we use the present perfect, right, we often use other expressions. Okay, there aren't that many that we use with the present perfect on a regular basis, but since, all right, and in the last 6 months, for example, in the last 2 days, in the last 3 years, right? This kind of expression as well. So the reason that these two expressions work in the the present perfect is because they refer to a period of time. All right, like you can see here, since 2007. So this 2007 until now. All right, that's the meaning when we use since. Right, in the last 6 months would be the same. 6 months ago until now. So whenever we incorporate this concept of a period of time into our sentence, right, we can do this with since and in the last, etc. All right, and these are two expressions that are very, very commonly used with the present perfect. All right, you'll notice that I have one more expression here as well, which is for. All right, for, in fact, can also be added down here to the past simple. So for is an expression, is a preposition that can be used both in the past simple and the present perfect, and it's not specific to either one. As you can see in the example that we had here, I lived in Spain for 5 years, or I have lived in Spain for 5 years. Right? In both expressions, we're speaking about a period of time. But this one in particular is not specific to the present perfect or the past simple. It can be used in both. So be careful with for. So this is the biggest difference between the two. All right, there's one more point I wanted to speak about with the present perfect, which is this. All right, a very recent past. Okay, so we can also use this to speak about a very recent past. And if you'll notice, I have an extra red star here because this is actually correct in both the present perfect and the past simple. So this is kind of, a cultural difference. If you go to the United States, most people would probably use the past simple for this type of situation. If you go to the UK, probably most people would use the present perfect. All right, let me give you an example. Imagine that you call for a taxi in order to get home. And the taxi pulls up outside your office, and somebody turns around and says to you, your taxi has just arrived. All right? Your taxi has just arrived. All right, so this is correct because it's the very, very recent future. I'm sorry, the very, very recent past. As you can see here, on the diagram, this is the present and this is when it happened, just very, very recently. Okay, so we're talking about 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 seconds, something like this. All right, but like I said, there is a big cultural difference between this usage. For me personally, I would probably always refer to these types of moments in the past simple. All right, I just finished lunch. All right, I would never say personally, I have just finished lunch. All right, your taxi just arrived. So for me, because of where I come from, I would use the past simple, but it's also correct to use the present perfect. So that's the quick explanation. I hope it helps to clarify some things. The most important and the most confusing thing is often this usage here, all right, compared with this usage here. All right, so in the standard Castilian Spanish, right, it's very common for people to say things like esta mañana he ido al supermercado, okay? He ido al supermercado, speaking about this morning. So in English, this type of thing is never right, okay? Because it's in the past, okay? It's finished, and it's time specific. All right, so this is where I see a number of people make mistakes when they're translating, from Spanish to English. So that's it. We'll leave it like that for now. I hope this has helped. I hope it's helped to clarify a few things, and I hope to see you in the next session. So have a great one. Take care.